Well, hello.
Well, welcome back to everybody for the second half. The second half is where you keep the best wine till last. But Chris, I can't get out of your childhood without asking you, did you have any religion?
Oh, well, sure. I was raised Catholic, and then I gave it up for Lent at some point. I would say that my family was... I guess the way I would say it is we were sort of pedestrians in the Catholic faith. We would go, we would do our business, we would leave. We weren't especially good at sticking to it. My grandparents were far more, and it wasn't something that stuck with me especially well. And I've since gone on to become a Buddhist. You could be Catholic and Buddhist, but I love God, hate his fans. That's where I am.
Okay, great. Well, look, one of the things you dropped into the first half, if you like, or dropped into the thing, is that you're one of your books has been a New York bestseller. I want to know the name of that book, and I want to know how the hell did you ever get the contract to write it?
Oh, that's a funny story. So the book was called Trust Agents, and it is basically how to be human at a distance is really what we wrote. We wrote a way for people to understand how one could build trust on things like the web. And the reason I got the contract was I had a fairly successful blog. I was at a conference. I was sitting next to a wonderful lady named Ellen Gerstein, who at the time was working for Wiley. She was actually their head of marketing. She asked a question about where would this book sit on a shelf if, not my book, just a book, at a bookstore. And I said, well, if it was this kind of store, it would be here. If it was this kind of a store, it would be here because they don't have that section. And then she liked the answer, and then she turned and looked again and said, wait, why don't you have a book? And I said, because why should I? I blog, I enjoy blogging, it's a lot of work. You should write a book. Okay. And really, that's how I did it. I wanted to be an author my whole life. When it was finally put in front of me, I thought, this seems like a lot of work. So I called my friend Julien and I said, hey, would you like to write a book with me? And he was like, okay. And so that was it. We just wrote.
Yeah. How did you pick up Julien Smith?
He and I met at the event that I launched with another guy, Christopher Penn. I have this penchant for putting two people together. That's my project method. And so I called Christopher Penn one day and said we should do an event about podcasting, and we called it PodCamp. And it's then switched to podcasting, blogging, and video. And there's been thousands of those now. Now, Julien came to the first one, and he walked into the room, and I was wearing a T-shirt that I had painted myself that had an iPod and some kind of fun art on it that Julien found very artistic. And he came, and he had these crazy piercings in his ear, and he had tons of tattoos. He's a Montreal boy from Canada, and
he seems awfully smart, awfully bright, Chris.
Oh, he is, and that's why he should have known not to spend time with me. But he really took a real interest in how that went. He really liked me enough, and everybody who went to that first event, there were maybe 300 of us or so, everyone who went felt really special and really motivated, and a lot of people went on to do really interesting work. I'm quite proud of that, although I can claim absolutely no reason why I had anything to do with anything. So he wrote that book with me. We came back and wrote one other book together called The Impact Equation. And the only reason I asked him to write was, first off, I loved his blog. He has a blog. You can just go to juliensmith.com to find it. His older blog was much better. He's founding a company right now, so he's a little busy. But I liked his style. So we wrote the first book. We just had rules. We just said both of us have to turn in 2,500 words every day. Both of us have to do this, and some people made the misunderstanding that he was some kind of ghostwriter, but I'm by far more the writer than Julien. Julien is a thinker who can write, and I'm a writer who tries to think. And so the first book was a lot more level storyline because I sort of tried to massage it and make our writing styles blend really well. The other book we wrote together, The Impact Equation, I just couldn't do that because Julien's style had evolved so much that I just let his voice be his voice. So it's a bit more fun to read The Impact Equation for that reason because you can really tell who's talking with you.
Yeah, but you've put a phrase out there into the public arena that I use a lot, that I say, look, to people, look, you're my trust agent on, where to get my car fixed. You're my trust agent on how to write a blog post, or in fact, you're my trust agent on who I should have a cup of tea with. If you, I have, I think you guys may have. Which of you actually, which one of the two of you claims the credit for the for the phrase trust agents?
That one is my fault, I'm sorry to admit. I am a habitual namer and phraser, and I turn things out like that a lot, and some stick, some don't, and it's a sickness more than a good thing. It just happens, and there's a very small set of quotes of mine that I have no idea why this became such a popular thing, but it's all over Tumblr. Tumblr being, another platform that it says. I said this somewhere, and some person wrote it in a notebook and took a photo, and it says, "Don't settle, don't finish crappy books. If you don't like the menu, leave the restaurant. If you're not on the right path, get off it." This, I say to you, Paul, only to say that, not unlike this thing about me turning phrases, that will be the quote that people know of me from 200 plus years from now, and it's nothing to do with anything that I care about. It's just something I said in passing one day. But that's the truth of it.
So I want to know, how come you're not a copywriter in a big marketing PR company? Why are you doing all this other stuff? Why aren't you a copywriter, Chris?
Oh, because I like money. Copywriters in PR companies are servants, and I'm a servant of more people than that. If you're a copywriter in a company, you serve your boss and your clients. I'm a servant of the people, so I work for thousands of people, and to be that kind of a job inside some sort of an agency is a tremendous burden to me. It is not anywhere near as fun as helping thousands of people succeed. So,
when's the last time you did a 9-to-5 job, Chris?
2006, the middle of 2006, when I launched the first PodCamp. One of the people in the audience was a serial entrepreneur named Jeff Pulver, and he had co-founded Vonage, the VoIP phone that was pretty popular back in the day. And he liked my event, and he said, "I really have no idea what you make. I want to hire you. You should come work with me." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Okay, we'll talk about it." I said, "No, I accept the job." And off we went. And so one day in September, I ran my own private event on the weekend. I'd never run an event in my life. And the next day in September, I walked back to my office where I'd worked for almost 10 years and said, "Hey, I quit. Love you all. See you." And then I went to this whole new thing. It was the first time I had quit a very, very sure thing, kind of lucrative role.
So look, I know two guys in the world there who quit very Oh yeah, that looks cool. I read. Do you always...
Just a water bottle.
A water bottle, right. Okay. I know you're big into water. We'll come on to that later. But I know two people then who abandoned well-paid jobs and, said, "Thanks, guys, for that, but I'm off." You and AJ Leon.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, how did you... Now, AJ Leon's going around the world in 1,800 days or something like that. Where did you first shake his hands or give him a hug? Where did you see him face to face?
I met AJ at Jeff Pulver's 140 conference. It's funny that it's another Jeff story. And I met him. He was wearing sort of a white suit. He has this very long hair. He had it tied sort of back in a bun. I could not place his heritage at first. I didn't realize he's a Cuban gentleman by heritage, and he sort of has an almost Middle Eastern look to him, and I thought, wow, what an exotic-looking guy. And I shook his hand and talked, and I really had no clue because this was right at the beginning of his journey. He didn't really have the clue either. But we, made sort of fast friends, and I had this real sense that he's doing interesting stuff, and we just stayed in touch. But that was really kind of it. But he's just going off and doing his own thing. He has a very different roadmap to me. My job is to really help business people do business. His job is to make really good things happen in the world and sometimes do some business.
Yeah, look, one thing I want to clear with you. This is, I'm not good enough at doing this interviewing stuff, Chris. I have got too many things, too much curiosity, and I'm not going to be able to succeed in fitting it in within. Could you possibly squeeze in after the end of the second 15 segment, could you possibly squeeze in one more segment after that? If I promise,
give me 5-minute pause in between them, I could help with that.
Look, we all have to have a toilet break, Chris. There's no way I want you to be sitting there. Do you want that break right now?
It's not necessarily for a toilet, but yes.
Okay, you take the break right now.
We'll pause and call me in maybe just under 5 minutes.
I'll call you back. I wouldn't miss it for anything.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye.
Bye now.